Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our first in a series of speaker meetings. You know how original we are when we call it speaker meetings. But actually, we're encompassing, it's called Aging in Brock, and tonight is about caregivers and dementia. And we'll let you know a little bit later about the next two sessions, and I'm sure you're going to want to be here for those, and you'll be able to register tonight before you leave if you wish. So we're here in our beautiful community room in the brand new Brock Community Health Center. My name's Norm Wilson, and I'm the chair of the board of directors of the Brock CHC. It's my pleasure to be the moderator today. Before we proceed, I just want to go through a few housekeeping items, and you probably know what the first one is. Shut the phone off. Or at least make sure it's muted. There's lots of food, so if at any time you've got hunger pangs, why, just feel free to get up and avail yourself of some goodies. Washrooms are clearly marked out in the hallway. So if the need arises, feel free. And in case of emergency, which we're not expecting, please exit through either of the two doors. We'll make this available. And head down the hall to the stairs. Down the bottom of the stairs, you can exit the building. But we're not planning on that happening. Now, before we begin with our speakers, I want to read a land acknowledgement. Brock CHC recognizes and acknowledges the Indigenous people for being good stewards of the land and environment where we are meeting today. We reside on and benefit from the Williams Treaty Territories on the land of the Mississaugas and the Chippewas, and we thank them for sharing this land. We will endeavor to follow this example by being good stewards of the land and environment for all peoples. So we have four wonderful presenters here today who will each speak for approximately 15 minutes. They've been warned. After we've heard from all of our speakers, we'll open up time for questions and answers. Now, hopefully you picked up a little notebook and a pen on your way in here so that you can jot down any questions before, like myself, you forget them. We're going to be taking a video of the meeting tonight so that we can show it on our YouTube channel probably in about a week's time. Our next meeting in the speaker series will be on Wednesday, April 22nd, focusing on senior safety. So our first speaker today is Ashley Vericelli, and you can give the right pronunciation if I didn't get it, from the Alzheimer Society Durham Region. Ashley is responsible for community engagement and training. She's from Sunderland. That's good. So thank you, Ashley, for taking the time to be with us today, and we look forward to what you have to say.
And congratulations, you said my name pretty well. It never happens. So like Norm said, I'm Ashley. I'm from the Alzheimer Society. I'll give you a little bit of like a Dementia 101 or a crash course on what dementia is, and then I'll tell you about our supports and services. And I know that it's not a nice topic, and people are always like, oh, I don't want to hear about it, right? Like I do an info table, and people are like, I don't want to come to you. I don't want to know what's going to happen. It might not be about us, but it's about knowing this information so we can support our friends, our family, our neighbors, anybody in our life. So dementia is an umbrella term that we use for any condition that causes changes in the brain. So under that umbrella are all the different types of dementia. Now here's the part where I feel like an auctioneer. Anybody want to guess how many different types of dementia there are? Just shout it out. Shout it out. 5, okay? I got 5. 10, I got 10. Anybody else? Okay, ready? You're going to have your mind blown. There's actually over 100 different types. Obviously, some are more common than others. Some are very rare. Our most common type is Alzheimer's, hence why we're called the Alzheimer Society. but we do support anybody living with dementia or cognitive concern. So with Alzheimer's disease, it affects about 60 to 80% of all cases, or it accounts for 60 to 80% of all cases. And usually the telltale sign with Alzheimer's disease is that short-term memory loss. So someone asks the same question over and over, or they'll tell you the same story over and over. And that's because their brain no longer records that as a memory. So they ask you what time is dinner, you say 5. 10 minutes later, they ask you what time is dinner because their brain no longer has the ability to record that as a memory. The next most common type is vascular dementia. Anybody heard of that one? Yeah, some nods. Okay, good. That one is usually the result of strokes or mini strokes, or when there's impaired blood flow to the brain. So depending on where that blood flow interruption happened, that will determine the losses that somebody has. For me, the telltale sign of that one is kind of like a step progression. So somebody is stable for a while, then they might have a fall, a hospitalization, an infection, then they have a sharp decline, and then they stabilize, and the same pattern continues. The third most common is Lewy body dementia. Anybody heard of that one? I see a couple nods, yeah, a couple hands. Lewy body dementia sometimes happens with Parkinson's disease, sometimes happens separately, but there's Lewy bodies in the brain. With that one, we don't generally see forgetfulness or memory loss in the beginning stages. We see more of those motor skills. So somebody might have shuffling. They don't pick up their feet when they walk. They might have rigidity or tremors. They also might have visual hallucinations, so seeing things that aren't there. Common is children outside playing, which might not be startling for some, but also common is like bugs crawling on the ceiling. So usually that's the telltale sign for that one, is hallucinations. And then our fourth most common type, don't worry, I'm not going to go through all 100, but the fourth most common is frontotemporal dementia. Anybody heard of that one? If you're up to date on your Hollywood gossip, who has it? Bruce Willis, right? So the fronto and the temporal regions of our brain are impaired. Sometimes that's caused by repeated head trauma, concussions. We do see about 20% of frontotemporal dementia in those under the age of 65. So that is a new trend, is people younger and younger being diagnosed. With frontotemporal dementia, those areas of our brain are responsible for our language, our reasoning, our initiation, our inhibitions. So somebody might lose their filter, so to speak. They might have very different behaviors than they used to. Maybe they've always been an introvert. Now they're starting to invite people into their house, or they might get mad more easily, and we see some of those aggressive behaviors. What's common amongst all those types, no matter if it's the 4 or the 100, is that they are all progressive. So they will continue to get worse over time, and there currently is no cure. I'm hopeful that in my day, there will be a cure, hopefully. We've come a long way. In terms of warning signs, I did bring a couple of these with me. So people always think of dementia as being forgetfulness or confusion, right? How many times have we walked in a room and we forget why we're there? Happens to us all. How many times have we lost something or put something in a strange place? Happens to us all. Usually it happens when we're busy, we are stressed, we're multitasking. That's normal. But when that starts to affect your everyday life, that these things start happening more often and more often, then there's cause for concern. So I'll go through these quickly. The first warning sign would be memory changes that affect your day-to-day life. So forgetting doctor's appointments, forgetting where you live, forgetting names of people, things like that. Difficulty doing familiar tasks. So some things as simple as buttoning a shirt, tying a shoe, making a cup of coffee, making a piece of toast. Those things, if you start to forget how to do them, or you see somebody start to forget how to do those things, that could be a warning sign. Changes in language and communication. So forgetting words, putting words in the wrong context, calling something by the wrong name. You see a dog, you call it a cat. You say, pass me the bowl, but you mean cup. Those can all be signs. I will say with that one, when you're stressed or busy, those things happen, right? We all mess up words sometimes, so try not to look too much into that one. Disorientation in time and space. So again, we all have times where we don't know what day of the week it is, but if you don't know what season it is or what month it is, that would be more concerning. Impaired judgment, so not recognizing that there might be a serious problem. The best example I can give is if I look outside, and wouldn't it be nice if it wasn't snowing right now for this example, but let's picture that it's nice outside, it's sunny, it's not snowing. I might think, oh, looks like a beautiful warm day. I'm going to go for a walk, and I put on my shorts and my t-shirt, but it's cold outside. My brain no longer makes that connection that something's wrong and I need to go home and put on clothes. Problems with abstract thinking. So anybody balance a checkbook still? Or is this example really outdated? You do? Okay, good. Whew, I can still use it. But difficulty with numbers, not knowing what numbers are, what they're used for, checkbook, PIN numbers, things like that. This one we all do, misplacing things. I put my daughter's shoe in the kitchen cupboard one time because I was trying to make 3 lunches, get the dog fed, do 100 things. But the best way to describe this one is if it happens more often, or if you no longer recognize that there's a problem or that you shouldn't use something. So somebody once said to me that they put the milk carton in the cupboard and they saw it the next day and they still used it. Because that brain is impaired. It doesn't tell you that there could be a problem. If I put the milk in the cupboard and I found it the next day, I would probably say, I'm not risking it. I'm not going to use it. Changes in mood and behavior and personality. So again, somebody going from being very introverted to now inviting people in their house that they may not even know. Mood swings, going from laughing one minute to angry or sad the next without rhyme or reason. Loss of initiative. So it just no longer occurs to people living with dementia to do it. So for example, someone always used to go to church every Sunday and now they've stopped going. It just doesn't occur to them to do it. If they are offered it, they'll do it because somebody initiates it for them. This one gets a little bit confused with depression because they can look a little bit similar. The difference for me is depression has that emotional quality. So if somebody says, oh, they're not going to church, and I ask them to go, and they say, oh, I don't feel up to it, or I don't want to see people, that's depression. That's starting to withdraw. Whereas the initiation piece is, oh, sure, that would be great, because somebody plugged me in. And then changes in sight and motion. So sometimes black carpets, like still 'tis the season for a black carpet, can look like a black hole to somebody with memory impairment. So they might walk around it, try to jump over it, avoid it. Shiny floors can look wet. In a bathroom, if the floors are white, the ceiling is white, walls are white, toilet is white, they have color differentiation issues. So they can't tell where one thing ends and the next one begins. So in a bathroom, the easiest fix is putting a black toilet seat on. So those are our 10 most common types, or our warning signs, sorry. In terms of what the Alzheimer Society offers, so we serve all of Durham Region. We are a mobile team, so I am always the advocate for the North, but we are a mobile team, so we will come to you. Our main office is in Whitby. We have another location in Ajax, and then we work out of this beautiful building one day a week as well. For care partners or caregivers, we offer counseling, navigation, education, and all of those services are free. For people living with dementia, we offer recreation programs, cognitive testing. We have 3 memory clinics, and we also have a new cognitive registry program. So people would meet with our cognitive assessor, they would have their assessment done, and then the report would be sent back to their family doctor. That's not meant for a second opinion. It is just a screener. We don't diagnose you ourselves. Those reports get sent to the doctor, and your doctor would make that diagnosis themselves. And we also do lots of fundraising. Our walk is coming up in May. So if you'd like to join us, that will be happening at Ajax Downs on May 30th. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for me. I didn't get the warning sign. That's great.
much, Ashley. It's always fun to be the first speaker, and you certainly did a great job here tonight. Our next speaker is Jillian Howsam. She's representing Community Care Durham. Jillian is the Community Hub and Volunteer Coordinator. So thank you for coming, Jillian, and we look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you. Yep.
Is your green light on?
The green, yes, the green light's on. I'm just going to borrow here if that's okay. Hello, everybody. As you know, yes, Jillian Howsam. I have been with Community Care Durham in April next month for 15 years. So I am the Community Hub Coordinator, and I am actually responsible for all of North Durham for the volunteers, luncheon out, telephone reassurance, and friendly visiting program. But I have my hands in a lot of other programs as well, so we all help each other out with the team. So our organization has been around for over 46 years, and we service all of Durham Region. We want people to know that they can access our services at any age, 16 all the way up to 100. A lot of people think that we're only senior base, and we're not senior, just senior base. We will help everybody that's needing assistance. So we offer, I'm going to go through give you a few stats and everything else from the head office. So we do address the needs of seniors, food security, mental health, social isolation, caregiver burnout, and hospital avoidance. And we're enabling clients to live at home or wherever they want to choose safely. So we're trying to keep you at home as long as possible. We're funded by the Ministry of Health, client fees, grants, donations, and fundraising. So some of our food and nutrition, we do our Meals on Wheels program. We do have our Meals on Wheels up here. We do hot and frozen. I should say prepared. The prepared meals come from Nourish and Develop, and we do those meals up here on Wednesdays. And then we have our frozen food that we deliver every other week. So we have a provider called Entree Plus that is located in Newmarket. And the meals are very good. I have to say, I love the meals. If I could, I would order the meals. I actually got the meals, the desserts for my wedding. We have our community food box that we deliver, and we deliver 3,011 food boxes, which is equivalent to 17,051 meals. And then we have our lunch and out program as well, and we have served 2,231 attending for those days. For our hot and frozen, last year CCD delivered 45,166 hot meals and 48,508 frozen meals. We have our We Connect mental health program, which used to be called Cope Mental Health. This is a free community mental health service for people ages 16 or older. Offers in-person and online group services that provide emotional support, connection with others, education, and strategies to help individuals care for their mental health and overall well-being, and focuses on education, community connection, and developing coping skills to improve mental health. We Connect currently, in this past year, had 14,926 group attendees, and 2,510 group sessions that were available. Our health and wellness, we have our exercise and falls prevention classes, and we do that here. So if anyone's interested in exercise and falls, we service in Sunderland, Cannington, and Beaverton. And thankfully, we have a great partnership with the Community Health Center. So please reach out to Jennifer Josephson as well. We have our community care resource nurse, and we have served 553 hours of care. That is a registered practical nurse, an RPN, which will provide nursing services in clients' homes that aim to prevent hospitalization, emergency department visits, while providing fast and efficient care to clients, preventing the chronic and/or health conditions. We have our wonderful adult day program that is located in Uxbridge. That's the closest one up here for North Durham, and we have a full day supervised therapeutic grouping. Activities are designed to improve cognitive, social, emotional, and physical functioning in either a group setting or based on an individual need. And caregivers can take a break knowing that their loved ones are safe and engaged. We had 14,615 attend those last year. Our Help at Home, our respite caregiving service, we've served 24,449 hours of care provided last year. We have assisted living and supportive housing as well. We have our friendly visiting and telephone reassurance, which I'm responsible for in North, but for all of Durham Region, we have provided 21,922 visits combined last year. And our home to stay, we provided 2,578 hours of care. We also have our transportation, and I'm going to get a little bit more into this, but they wanted me to give all of this information as well. But we do for our transportation, we have our accessible van, assisted transportation, which a PSW will go with your loved one to their appointments. And then we have our medical and other important date general transportation. So if someone needed to go to a medical appointment, if they needed to just go grocery shopping, do some errands, we've taken people to the hospitals, we've taken people to weddings, is just all volunteer based for those specific ones. But we do have a wonderful program for the transportation. So those are the outline part with the stats. So now I'm going to get more into what the luncheon out. So I offer a luncheon out program up here 2 to 3 times a year. We offer it at the Cannington Lions Hall. The Cannington Lionesses are our caterers. And then we also have a good partnership too with our Friends and Flavors here with the Community Health Center, Brock Health Center. Again, anyone's welcome to come. Like anytime that you want to get that socialization and meet other people and come have fun, the luncheon out is the place to be. So make sure you join us. For mine and for here as well for the Friends and Flavors, we offer the lunch, and then after that we have some type of entertainment. So make sure you dedicate 2 hours of your time to come and join us and get ready to have a lot of fun and meet a lot of people. So that's the luncheon out. Our foot care program, I love our foot care program. It's so much in demand that we do currently have a wait list up here in Brock. But for those that are willing to commute, we have openings and availability at our Scugog office. So it is a registered foot care nurse that comes. The foot care is a 15-minute appointment. They assess your feet. They'll remove corns, calluses, trim those nails. If they see anything out of the ordinary and they're not too sure, they will refer you to a chiropodist. But I have to say your feet are so important and so many people take those for granted. So definitely, and again, foot care, this is for anybody. So anybody who's needing, somebody to keep an eye on their feet, please call us and we can get you all looked after because you don't want to take those for granted. And for the foot care, just to give you a tidbit, so we do offer foot care here in Cannington at this in this building. We also offer it at Maple Glen in Sunderland and then at Gillespie in Beaverton. So again, we are waitlisted at the moment, but again, Port Perry at the Scugog office, feel free, but we can definitely get you on that wait list if you wanted to stay in this community. Our transportation. So our transportation service, what you're going to do is I have brochures on the table over there. This tells you all of our services that Community Care Durham has to offer. Our 1-800 number is on the back, so it is centralized intake that you would have to contact this number to get registered as a client. With our transportation, if that's the only service that you are wanting with transportation, we do ask that you have a date in mind of when you're needing that transportation so we can do our whole assessment and everything with you on that phone. We do need 7 business days notice to book your transportation. Once you book that transportation, please make sure you have all the information available, where you're going, what doctor, what level what floor level your medical appointment's on, approximately how long are you going to be there, is an escort going with you, are you using any devices such as a walker, cane, or a wheelchair, and that will kind of base what we need to, how we're going to refer you to that specific program. Will it be the accessible van? Can a volunteer take you? But the more information that you have right away when you call us, the better we're able to service you. I talked about the exercise and falls prevention. I'm trying to think what other key things that are up here that I want you guys to know. Oh, again, telephone reassurance and friendly visiting. Our friendly visiting program, it's a free service. If you're interested in friendly visiting, we do ask, it's a 1 hour visit once a week with a volunteer, and we try to match you with somebody who has those same personality traits. And it's such a wonderful program. I have volunteers that have been matched with a client for, oh my goodness, almost as long as I've been with the organization. So it's so incredible, that rapport that you develop with that person. Our telephone reassurance program is a free service as well. And the telephone reassurance is, we have a volunteer that will call you whatever day of the week that you're wanting that call. If it's Monday at noon or in the evening, just let us know. And again, that conversation could be 5 minutes, it could be a half an hour. We have some clients that like to talk an hour or more, depending. So definitely, if you're interested in, if you're feeling isolated or a little bit lonely and just want to talk to somebody other than your family, this is the program for you. So let me know, and I would be happy to get you on our list. We do have quite a few volunteers that are able to do the telephone reassurance. And yes, I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to really focus on. So I thank you all so much for allowing me to talk. Like I said, I don't want to go into every single program because I could be here all day, but in our brochure on the table, it does list all of the programs that are available. If you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer any of them here today, or if you call that 1-800 number, they'll be able to give all of the fees and all of that kind of stuff to you as well. So yeah, so please reach out to us. We're happy to help you all, and we're there for you. So yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Jillian, for your presentation. You talked about the Lunch and Out program with so much excitement that I'm hoping you have room for another 25 people next time. So our third presenter this evening is Anne-Marie Boutiette from the Ontario Caregiver Organization. Anne-Marie is the regional lead for Eastern Ontario and Francophone communities. So Anne-Marie, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm a shorty. Okay, so thanks for coming and thanks for having me tonight. My name is Anne-Marie Boutiette. I am the Regional Engagement Lead with the Ontario Caregiver Organization, which basically means I'm kind of an ambassador for the organization across Eastern Ontario. So this is about as far west as my region goes, and I cover all the way to the Quebec border. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Deep River, I was in Ottawa, I was in Cornwall, so I'm all over the place. First and foremost, I am a caregiver myself. I'm a caregiver to my adult daughter who has had some mental health issues for pretty much since her early adolescence. And I was a caregiver to my mom who had Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia. So like all of us at the OCO, staff and volunteer included, we all bring that experience with us, and that's really what motivates and drives us to do this work. So the Ontario Caregiver Organization is a charitable organization. We are funded by the Ministry of Health, but we're an independent organization. And we exist to support unpaid caregivers. So anyone looking after a loved one, regardless of their age, regardless of whether they live with them or not. You could be, it could be someone that you live with and care for 24/7, but it could be someone who lives independently. It could be someone in a hospital setting, long-term care. It could be an adult child with developmental disabilities who's living in a semi-independent setting. Any of those scenarios. It could be, your sister breaks her leg and needs somebody around for a few weeks to help her around the house. You're a caregiver. So we do this in a number of ways. First and foremost, we offer some free programs and services to caregivers, and I'm going to get into that. But we also do a lot of work behind the scenes. So we have a team that works very closely with healthcare partners to raise awareness about the importance of caregivers. Caregivers, there's 4.2 million of us across Ontario, and we project that that number is going to increase to about 6.5 in the next 4 years. We provide 75% of the care to our loved one. So for every hour that a patient spends in a clinical setting, caregivers provide 3 hours. So our caregivers are, they're overwhelmed. They are burning out, but they're a key partner in that care team. That's the main core of our philosophy, and that's the kind of culture that we're trying to bring to healthcare settings, to workplaces. 70% of caregivers are in the workplace, so they're trying to balance work with caregiving, often also raising a family. So they've got a lot on their plate. So we're trying to make the world a more welcoming place, a more understanding place, and a more supportive place for caregivers. So in terms of the programs and services that we offer, everything we offer is free. You do not need a doctor's referral or anything. You can just come to our website, call our helpline, and help yourself to the information, register for our programs on your own will. So our website, our banner is back there, and I also have some documentation on the table back there, but our website is ontariocaregiver.ca, and that's basically the portal. Because we are a provincial organization, most of our resources are on a virtual platform. So all of our toolkits, all of our tip sheets, all of our resource pages, everything is on our website. We have a resource page on dementia. So if you search dementia, you'll get a resource page with some tips on how to, what you might expect as a caregiver of someone with dementia or with another neurocognitive illness. And then any resources, any tip sheets, or links to other organizations that support caregivers of people with dementia will be listed on there. Any webinars that we've hosted will be linked on there, so you have everything kind of in one page. And we refer folks a lot to the Alzheimer Society all over the province. Yeah. So that's really kind of the first spot to go. I mentioned our toolkits. I brought our I Am a Caregiver toolkit, which is just a little booklet that has a couple of self-assessment tools. One to really, make you sit down and have a reflective exercise to really notice how much you're doing as a caregiver, right? As when you think about caregiving, you might think, oh, I just take them to their appointments, or, I help them dress in the morning. But then when you start to look at the list, maybe you schedule those appointments. Maybe you also deal with prescriptions and renewing the prescriptions and picking up the medication and administering the medication. Maybe you're also their power of attorney. Maybe you also do their income tax. It's not necessarily things that you do every day, but it's things that, that in the moment feel really insignificant maybe, but add them all up and it's a lot. I had a doctor, the Ottawa Cancer Foundation, she said she'd heard it described as being crushed by a ton of feathers. Every little thing just feels like, this, that, that. But add it all together, a ton of feathers is still a ton. And then, you wonder why you're so tired. You wonder why you're waking up with aches and pains, why you're so impatient. Well, your moods might be all over the place. You're stressed, right? And there's a very good reason for it. And then going with that, another tool in our toolkit is a wellness self-assessment tool to kind of help you gauge what your baseline is. So when you do start to notice things, that's a cue that maybe you need to get some help to get yourself back in a more sustainable place. And then at the back of the toolkit, there's also a list of all of the programs and services that I'm going to talk about today. So you don't have to remember all of this, with a little description. So you can just take one of those home. Other information, we have a big education, a role around education as well. So I mentioned webinars. We host webinars at least once a month in English. roughly 8 to 10 a year in French, and it's always with the caregiver as an audience, right? So we've had quite a few webinars on dementia. The last one we did last fall was on what to expect as a caregiver as a neurocognitive illness declines, right? So we had someone from the Alzheimer Society come and talk to us about that. So it's always from that perspective, even though it's about an illness, it's really, how does that affect you as a caregiver? What can you expect as a caregiver? What do you need to plan for as a caregiver? We also have a lot of webinars on some wellness topics. We had one over the holidays about how to manage stress over the holidays, right? The holidays are a stressful time when you're already burdened with some other responsibilities. Sometimes it can feel a little bit, heightened, or things might feel like they're impacting you more than they normally would. So, some tips and tricks around managing those things. All of our webinars are recorded. I brought flyers for our next two. We have one this week on AI, the use of AI in caregiving. So kind of basic facts of how to approach AI, what to take for granted, what to maybe question a little bit. So that's on, I believe, Thursday. And then in April, we have one on setting healthy boundaries for yourself as a caregiver, which is really important, right, to maintain your mental wellness. So like everything else, our webinars are all free. I always say to folks, they're usually on a Thursday at noon, which might not be ideal for everyone. So I tell people, if it's a topic you're interested in and you don't care like the time, the date, or whatever, register anyway. First of all, that's the only way you can get the link for the live. It's not posted anywhere on our website. But second, you'll get a follow-up email with the recording. There's usually a PowerPoint presentation. You'll get a copy of that presentation. Any other resources that were mentioned or referred to, everything will be in one email. So it's a nice, you don't have to go looking around. It'll all be in one spot in your inbox. And then we also have peer support. So we have group peer support on a Zoom platform. They happen twice a month. There's different days, different times that, whatever suits your schedule. They're open groups. They're not specific to any diagnosis or age or anything like that. It's really just a matter of what fits your schedule. And then we also have one-to-one peer support. So similar to what you were describing, it's a volunteer that will call you once a week to check in, just to break that isolation. And the whole point of peer support, especially as a caregiver, is about having someone who understands what you're going through. You don't have to explain yourself to. They're not going to judge, right? Because we have some pretty yucky emotions sometimes as a caregiver that we feel ashamed of or guilty about. That is kind of, that's understood. They've all been there, regardless of what your caregiver scenario looks like. We all go through those difficult emotions. So they're there to listen. They're there to offer advice and just, be a listening ear. And then we also offer caregiver coaching. When I get calls, I'm also on a caregiver support team. So when folks call our 1-800 number, sometimes they get passed on to me if it's a little bit more complicated than finding a quick resource or something on our website. I usually refer to the Alzheimer's Society because they know that system. They know the resources related to the medical side of things and what's available in your community. But if you're dealing with another caregiving situation, we have a coaching service as well. It's free, like everything else. So you can work with a professional coach for up to 6 sessions. And our coaches are counselors, psychologists, social workers, but they also have that caregiving experience, right? So they bring both experiences together to really inform their work and walk alongside you as you work through whatever situation that you're dealing with. And it could be about setting up a plan for your care recipient, but it could also be about your own wellness, right? Maybe you've been doing this for 10 years and you're exhausted and you're not taking good care of yourself and you need to make a plan. That's what you guys will work on. So you and the coach will develop a plan together, and then over the course of 6 sessions, kind of walk through the steps, help, they'll help you find resources. And then every session kind of check in on what you've accomplished, set the goals for the next time, and keep moving forward. Did I miss anything? The last program I want to talk about is our SCALE program. SCALE stands for Supporting Caregiver Awareness, Learning, and Empowerment. It's an 8-week psychoeducational series that really breaks down those difficult emotions that I was mentioning earlier, the anger, the frustration, the guilt, the shame, to normalize it, to talk about it, but to also find some, talk about ways to cope and overcome that so that it doesn't increase your stress level. So it consists of a webinar every week on a specific emotion. And then there's a group discussion that's facilitated by a psychologist. And you also have the opportunity to work one-on-one with a counselor for 3 sessions, and that's on a first-come, first-served basis. It's free. We offer it twice a year. The winter session is just wrapping up this week. Actually, I think today was the last session, but we're starting another one in October. The dates usually are announced in September. But if you subscribe to our newsletter, and there's a little stand there with a QR code, or you can find the link to subscribe to our newsletter on our website. You'll get notified every time there's a new webinar, every time there's a new SCALE offering, and you can just click right on the newsletter to take you to the registration link. So that's it for my kind of roundup, but I have a lot of information over there. I know there's going to be some questions later, and I look forward to talking to folks. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for your presentation. I have to tell you, what a great group of speakers, and we're not done yet. Our next presentation is from Mackenzie Otter, Brock CHC's own Mackenzie Otter. Mackenzie is a registered practical nurse, behavioral support clinician. So we look forward to her presentation and her supporting cast here.
Okay, hi everybody. As Norm kindly mentioned, my name is Mackenzie Otter. I work here at the Brock Community Health Center. I'm a registered practical nurse in our geriatric assessment program, and I also provide behavior supports, which I will talk about a bit more at the end. So if these guys have been catching your eye, I will get there and I'll explain them a little bit, okay? I also wanted to mention that I have a partner in our program. Her name is Allison Trussell. She's a nurse practitioner who joined us about 6 months ago, and I'm very happy to have her as my partner in the program. And we also work very closely with Jennifer Josephson, who I'm sure many of you know. So we often lean on her, she leans on us, and we share a lot of the same work. So that's nice. So first I'm going to talk about the geriatric assessment program as a whole, kind of who we are and what we do. And our goal, as kind of the theme is tonight, is to promote healthy aging, specifically in Brock Township. So something I wanted to mention, and I've seen shared often, is that aging is a privilege, and that's something that is important to remember. So consider that when you're thinking about your aging process and how things look going forward. So part of what we do is something called a comprehensive geriatric assessment, which is really just a way of saying that we sit you down and we ask a whole lot of questions. So our goal is to get to know you, get to know who you are as a person, what is most important to you, and what your priorities are. So we ask you things about pain, sleep, mobility, if you've had any falls, if you have any concerns with your mood, concerns with your memory. And then we also ask you some kind of personal history questions, things, what some of your hobbies and interests are, what some of your hobbies and interests maybe were in the past, and if there's a reason that you don't partake in those anymore. Ask you questions about your family, your support systems, and things like that, because that's all very important when we're looking at kind of the bigger picture. Our goal is to kind of find out if you have a concern or a priority, whether it is with memory or something else, if there's a reason that is a concern, and if there's kind of what the root cause is, and see if we can do anything to help you out with that. The other thing that we do in our program is we often refer out to other community supports, so things like the Alzheimer Society, Community Care Durham, and other things like that, depending on your needs and what your goals are. Another piece of our program is assistance with diagnostic clarification, we call it, which some people are looking for that diagnosis of dementia, if that is the case. So we kind of do cognitive assessments and things like that to get a good idea of what your baseline is. Sometimes we refer out to a geriatrician, which is a doctor that specializes in the care of older adults. And we also have a connection to a geriatric psychiatrist, which is a doctor that specializes in care of older adults in regards to mental health concerns. And we have the ability to connect with those doctors through something that's called Ontario Telemedicine Network, which means that we do it all over the computer. So instead of somebody having to travel to Toronto or somewhere else for those assessments, we have the ability to have you come here or to our Beaverton office, and we will sit with you and do that appointment over the computer. So making those services accessible to the people here in Brock Township. So the other piece of my role is, as I mentioned, Behaviour Supports Ontario. So that's where some of these goodies come into the picture. And we gather that information through that, what I call a personhood summary, or those questions and getting to know you and what your interests are. So some of these interventions might work very well for some people living with dementia, and they might not work at all with others. So I'm going to turn on the cat. Fair warning, it moves and it makes noises. I'm going to turn it on and then I'll tell you about it, okay? So this is my cat, okay? The reason that it might work well for somebody living with dementia is it can provide a great feeling of comfort. If somebody has brought up in their assessment that, they always had a cat, I'm going to turn her off. She likes attention. If somebody has brought up in their assessment that they've always had a cat and they miss having a pet and they no longer have the ability or the resources to look after a real pet, this might meet that need of comfort, companionship, and a feeling of purpose. And it's not something that they necessarily have to interact with all the time, but maybe at night after a long day, feeling a little bit lonely or not having that feeling of comfort when you're sitting down to watch TV for an hour, this lovely cat could sit in your lap and give you a bit of companionship, okay? Again, if in your assessment you told me that you were raised on a farm and you had 100 farm cats and you couldn't be bothered with them, that might not be the thing that I would recommend to you. Another intervention that I have that I didn't bring with me is baby dolls for doll therapy. So maybe you hate cats, but maybe you've talked to me repeatedly about how proud you are to have raised your children and to have been a mom, and maybe that baby will give you that same comfort. Something else that I have, fair warning, also makes noise and moves, is this very cute little bird. So we'll so again, maybe somebody was, loves birds, whether they had pet birds, whether they were a bird watcher or just have some interest in that. This is a good tool for people who use a walker. That's what it is used for most frequently. Somebody that might forget to use their walker. They get up out of their chair and they walk right by it, whether intentionally or they've simply forgotten that they need it. This is motion censored. And if you give your walker a little nudge or you walk by the bird, she'll tweet at you. The goal is that, one, she's interacting with you a little bit, giving you a little bit of companionship there, but hopefully it will also bring your attention back to your walker and you might take it with you. So some of our interventions, I like to call those the fun interventions, and some of them are not so fun, but just as practical. Things like this phone that I brought here. most people have probably seen something similar to this, making the telephone more accessible. The numbers are bigger, the buttons are clear. You can also set people's phone numbers in them, so you just have to click your daughter's face to call her. Just making that more accessible, and you can also make a button for 911 that's clearly labeled that it's for emergencies. Sorry, cat. Something else that is talked about often but not always demonstrated is blister packages for medications. So Ben's Pharmacy in Cannington here kindly gifted us a couple of these to talk about because it's something that we often recommend for anybody that's having a little bit of trouble organizing their medications, whether it's forgetting to take them, taking them too many times, or simply somebody that has a lot on their plate. It doesn't even necessarily have to be to do with memory, but if you've got 100 things going on in your life, this just makes that one task a little bit easier. So these are Smarties. They filled it with Smarties for us, which was very kind, but we like to have this to use so when we go into people's homes, we have the blister package to actually show them. It's one thing, we could talk about it all day long, but it hits home a little bit more if we can take this with us. Show them how easy it is to pop out a purple Smartie, take your morning Smartie, and and go and move on, right? So that's that one. And then the last tool that I brought with me today is an All About Me book. This is specifically from a dementiability course that I talked about, or sorry, that I went to where they talked about it. So what it is, it's a book. It says, "Let's talk about me, my life in facts and photos." So essentially, to me, what this is a scrapbook that tells you what to do, which is perfect because I'm not very creative. So, but in my opinion, this tool can be used in many different ways. Usually I give it to somebody and I tell them it's not homework, but sometimes I don't mean that, is because it's a good activity you can either do alone or do with your family, and it's a good excuse to pull out that old box of pictures that we never touch, but it's there in the closet somewhere. You can pull that out, look through your old family photos, and pull some out that you want to put in here. So there's certain pages on the front here. It says a photo of me from the past, a photo of me from the present. You put your name on it. And then there's different pages on here, like more memories of my school years, first dates, dances, and romance. Marriage. There's a couple pages for that in case we need that. So different designated pages like that, things about the languages that I speak, my religion, things that are important to me. So you can fill that out, as I said, kind of as an activity for yourself. Another good use for it is that if anybody ever ends up moving to a retirement home or a long-term care home, you take this with them. And then the staff has a really easy guide and tool to find out all that important information. Similar if somebody ends up in the hospital. Usually when somebody ends up in the hospital, it's one of those rushed occasions where you're just grabbing things and going. And this is a really quick way to just grab it and have all the information you might need. And the other thing is that if and when somebody does pass away in the future, this is a really great thing for children and grandchildren to have to carry on those stories that they decided to share. Okay, so I think that's all the information I brought to share with me. I have a lot more tools, so if you have any questions and you want to know about more tools, please give me a call here at the health center. My business cards are over on the table, and there's a bit of information about both the programs. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks to the cat.
Well, thank you, Mackenzie, for your presentation. Just one thing I want to say to you, Mackenzie, I really like horses. and I like really big horses. So if you could start working on that now for when I might need your services, I appreciate it. So now it's, thank you to Loretta and Jennifer for what a great group of speakers. We're so blessed to have the four of you here tonight. Now it's time, yes, thank you very much. Now it's time for our audience to ask questions or make comments. And because we want everyone to hear you, and we want to capture all the dialogue on the video, I'm going to ask you that if you have a question or comment you'd like to make, if you just raise your hand and come up, I'll move with the microphone close to you so you don't have to come all the way here. But that way we can make sure that we capture everything on the video and make sure that everybody can hear you. So I'm going to pull this out, and I won't make you stick your face in my face, but we're going to use both microphones. Who'd like to go first? Okay. Come on up.
It's for Ontario Caregiver. So my question is, we talked about the whole psychology part and the whole negative feeling, and I'm wondering, after the caregiving is done and the person has moved on, is there any service there? I have a particular family member that I'm thinking of that I think could benefit from something like that, and just wondering if that exists.
Yeah. So obviously grief is not our main focus, but that said, actually at the demand of caregivers, we've created a new support group so I said all our groups are open in general. There's two exceptions. One is our youth support group, because we do have young caregivers as young as 13, 14, 15. But we also have a new group that we call Change in Caregiver Identity. So it's not only or not necessarily for folks whose care recipient or loved one has passed on. It's also for folks, like if you were caring for someone 24/7 in your home, and all of a sudden they're in a long-term care home, for example, or they're in the hospital for a long term, people don't know what to do with themselves anymore, right? They've lost themselves in the caregiving. So folks who have experienced that didn't really feel that they fit into our regular support group, so they asked for a separate one where they can all share that common experience. So we do have that, and we have had webinars on that topic as well that you can look into.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who would like to go next? Yes.
I was just wondering if there's any assistance for people that have had heart problems. Both my husband and I do, and we want to stay in our home, but I was just wondering if there might be some support for snow removal or lawn care of some kind that we could get to help us.
Who would like to? Community care?
Oh, there we go. Currently, we don't have the home maintenance or home help program at this time. I don't know if that's something that they would bring back or not. We had that prior to COVID. I know that sometimes with the townships, they're pretty good at helping. If you were to call the township and let them know, they might be able to come and help do some of the snow plow. Do you?
I can recommend if you call. So our helpline is also a service to help you find supports in your community. So they're plugged into Ontario 211, which is a provincial database of different free community programs and services. So they might be able to find something. The other tip, I'm not going to guess how old you are, but if you're a certain age, you can claim things like lawn care, snow removal, home housekeeping. You can claim that in your income tax as a credit. So look into that. So you could pay a service for those things, and you can deduct that from your income tax.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Someone else?
I
have a whole slew. Okay. So, Ashley,
Yes.
is there a treatment for Alzheimer's?
Very popular question. There is no cure, like I mentioned. However, there are drugs that can help with some of the symptoms. There is a new drug that was approved maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, called lecanemab, and that is for early stage Alzheimer's only. It was approved in the States probably 2 or 3 years ago, went through rigorous testing here, was finally approved. It is a treatment that is delivered via IV. So it would be the same as if somebody was getting chemotherapy, for example. You would have to go to the hospital every 2 to 3 weeks for treatment. And with any drug, there's side effects. You have to go through MRIs every 3 to 6 months because it may cause brain bleeds. But it does have very promising results. So we've seen it undo some of the plaques and tangles in somebody's brain. It doesn't remove it completely, but it helps put them in a better place. That also being said, it is a new drug, so the government is still working on deciding whether that will be funded under your provincial plan or not. And I believe a couple weeks ago we heard that that is a no for right now, and it does cost anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 a year. Yeah. So, but that's also progress, right? I've worked with people living with dementia for over 20 years, and in my day, you couldn't get a diagnosis until after somebody had died. You needed an autopsy. There were no drugs. Now there are things coming, so there's hope, but there's also advocacy that needs to happen.
If I can ask another,
Yes.
to you. So I've got the gift of hereditary genes or whatever it is that predisposes me to diabetes. Is that the same for Alzheimer's?
So less than 5% of cases are actually hereditary. So just because you might have a family history of it doesn't mean you're going to get it. And it's the same with any kind of genetic disease. If you have the breast cancer gene, doesn't mean you're going to get breast cancer. It just means that you're at a higher likelihood to. It's the same with the Alzheimer's gene. There is new screening that you can do through Life Labs to detect for the APOE4 gene. I know. Don't ask me what it stands for because I have no idea. But you can go to Life Labs. Your doctor can do a referral, and you can have blood work done to see if you have that gene.
I'd rather not know.
Yeah, well, two ways of thinking of it, right?
Mackenzie, can someone just be referred to the BGAP program for a baseline cognitive screening and not the entire comprehensive 2-hour geriatric assessment?
Yes, absolutely. So if somebody has a specific concern just with memory and they don't want to go through all the other questions, you can come and just focus on memory, do that cognitive or memory assessment and get a baseline. And then we usually recommend coming back, if that's something you want to do, every 9 to 12 months to repeat it to see if there's any change as you continue to age.
And how long would I have to wait for that?
So our wait list is usually about 4 to 6 weeks. We will call you before then and schedule an appointment to see you in the office. And we also do home visits as well. If there's a reason, whether it be transportation or other reasons that you can't get into the office, we can come to your home and make that accessible to you.
Awesome. Anne-Marie.
Yes, ma'am.
When should I start thinking about planning caregiver support for a family member?
Yes, so that's something that you should be thinking about. Or what I'm seeing a lot of is people like myself who have been caregivers, who have been through it and think, okay, I'm not putting my children or my entourage through this like live and learn situation. I'm going to prepare them ahead of time, right? So we that is something that we are actively, we're calling it preparing to care. So we're working on some new educational content around that at the OCO. But I think that in the meantime, one of our toolkits is, it's called the Contingency and Emergency Planning Toolkit. And it's a toolkit where you can start thinking about, it was conceived for, you know, if you're a caregiver, what do you need to think about, what do you need to plan in case something happens to you and somebody else needs to take over, right? So if you complete that from the point of view of yourself as a potential patient in the future, or you could complete it as, you know, if you're seeing that your, you know, maybe your parent or your spouse is, you know, is probably going to need some care in the next couple of years, it's a tool that you could start filling out, where you can list like all of their medical history, what your backup plan is, start having conversations. So there's scripting around, you know, how to have conversations with your team, how do you build your team, so that you're not doing it all by yourself. You know, start thinking about all the tasks that you're doing or that you're going to be doing or that will need to be done, who can do what. So those kinds of planning exercises, we have like for now, that contingency and planning toolkit will do the trick, but we're hoping to have something out before the end of this calendar year, because as I said, we're expecting a surge of over 50% in the number of caregivers in Ontario. We want them to be ready and to be prepared.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jillian, I didn't want to leave you out. It's just a general question though. We haven't talked about the role Ontario Health at Home plays as part of providing supports to families at home. Are you able to speak to that?
Well, we work very close with them. We get a lot of referrals through them. So if
someone, let's say my mom ended up at the hospital.
Oh yes. So if somebody, your loved one is in the hospital, and they needed to come home from the hospital, we do have our Home at Last program. You just have to make sure that your loved one states at the hospital that you're needing to get a ride home, and then a PSW will get the referral. Community Care Durham will get that referral, and then we can set that up where a PSW will come pick you up at the hospital, bring you home, spend some time with you. If they have to make sure that they go and get groceries for you, they can get groceries, and they'll stay with you for a couple hours to ensure that you're safe and everything else. So yeah, we're very lucky to have that partnership with them as well.
Anything you want to add?
Sure, I can add to that. So Ontario Health at Home provides like a variety of services. The most common that people probably know about is like PSWs or personal support workers going into people's homes. They also have nursing that goes to people's homes for certain medication administration or wound care or things like that. And you can get a referral to Ontario Health at Home a couple of different ways. It could be through the hospital. If that's where you are and you're on your way home and you need support, they can do it there. You can also ask for a referral from your family doctor or your nurse practitioner. We do referrals there often through our program, so I can do that referral. Jen can do that referral. And the other thing is if you can type it into Google, Ontario Health at Home, they do have a 1-800 number, and you can self-refer as well and have a conversation about what your needs are and get those supports started.
They have case management too.
They do, yeah. If you're going to have care kind of ongoing in your home, if you're going to have PSW twice a week for the next, foreseeable future, you will get a case manager that is kind of the communication source to you and organizes that support.
Also the occupational therapist.
Yes, they do. They have occupational therapists as well and physiotherapy. I believe they have speech therapy as well. So those are all things that can be done through that same referral source, and you just have to specify what your needs are.
Is it health or health?
Health.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've changed their names a couple of times.
Yeah.
You've probably heard of CCAC or Home and Community Care Support Services. They changed their name again, and it's Ontario Health at Home for now.
For now. I like that.
Yeah. Well, that was the answer that just never ends. Thank you, Loretta, for your book of questions. There's still opportunities if somebody else has a question they'd like to ask. And hearing none. Well, Well, I would like you to join me in just showing our appreciation to our 4 speakers here tonight who were just fantastic and answered all your questions. So thank you, Ashley, Jillian, Anne-Marie, and Mackenzie. I also want to thank our board of directors for the idea and their support in having a speaker series. And a huge thank you to our organizers, Jennifer, Loretta, Angela, Travis, who's not here tonight, and our executive director over in the corner, Angela McPherson. Angela, I better shut this off and turn it on again. Uh-oh. I guess I won't be the chair next week. So thank you for coming. Please help yourself to some goodies. Now, there was talk of an evaluation form, which is, everyone has it. Please fill those out. It helps us try and improve and cater to the things that you would like to see. Remember, the next meeting in our speaker series will be Wednesday, April the 22nd, focusing on senior safety. And the third one will be May the 21st, which is a Thursday, which is called Planning for the Future, which will focus on wills, power of attorneys. I know tonight probably everyone here has been affected by the pain of dementia, whether it's having an early start at it, whether it's being a caregiver. So this has been an incredibly meaningful time for all of us. And if you still have some questions or you'd like to speak to one of our presenters before you leave, please, I don't think you'll find them rushing out of the building. So grab another snack, a sandwich, a cup of coffee, and please take the time to speak to them if you still need some information. Apart from that, thank you for coming. Please drive safe on your way home, and we look forward to seeing you in a month's time.